This is Brownie's Podcast!
Welcome to Brownie's Podcast. We're all in the studio here. Jonathan's up north. First of all, we've got so much to get to, including Ginnivan being...
He rolled up the Pies fans, didn't
Jesus,
he? He was
man.
always going to back in the side, and he was absolutely magnificent.
You didn't believe in your team, and look what they did. I told you to believe, my friend.
You did. You've been telling me all year to believe, and I'm starting to believe.
Shit, the Lions as well. Both of your teams are arguably
Absolutely.
the best in the comp at the moment.
Going along
Premiership
beautifully.
favourites. Get on them. Hey, Doggy, you've come back fresh to Daisy, haven't you? It's been a big weekend for you. Just a little sojourn up to the Gold Coast, up in my neck of the woods, Dog.
Yeah, a little freshen up. We had an eventful Wednesday night on the way to Suncorp Stadium, which I'll tell you about before Origin. I left it out Friday because I was just sort of debating whether I tell the story or not, because it involves
Yes.
a little bit of
Horseplay?
mischief.
Shenanigans.
But
Yes, nice.
are you
Well, I
gonna
got
tell
a
the
call
story?
Saturday night, to say that Brown Dog wanted to know if I could come out. Jackie Boy had a few mates over for a sleepover. I said to Dog, "Where are you?" He said, "I'm at the Malibu Racket Club." They've got a Malibu Racket Club in Burleigh.
What?
So I just gave those boys a bit of a wide berth, him and Tommy Sheridan, the podcasting genius. So how'd you end up there Saturday night, Dog?
It was good fun. Honestly, that many influencers go in there for photo shoots. You'd think it was bloody.
That sounds awful.
It should be sponsored by Kodak.
It sounds awful.
Yeah, look, it was good. It was good. Just good viewing.
Coming up, we're going to play some Hulk Hogan audio from the Republican National Convention. He's fired up. And if you want to talk politics, there's a bit happening, Dog,
There's
as
plenty
well.
happening. Yeah, Joe Biden's finally stepped down. He's been sent off for 4 years. Probably should have happened pre-2020. But, hey, he survived. And Carmela Harris is in the seat, the hot seat.
Do you think Trump will win, Dog?
Of course he'll win. He should have won 4 years ago until they started cheating with the ballots.
Oh, my God, you are insane. I didn't realise how insane. You believe that,
No, of course I don't. I'm too smart.
John?
Did COVID get him? Did COVID get Joe? Did finally, when he's sitting up on his sick bed, when he's getting the hot and cold sweats, he's got the mask on, I can't do this anymore.
Yeah, he just wants to play shuffleboard. Let him play shuffleboard.
It's a fascinating time in world politics.
Mate, it's
if you
wild.
ask me.
He Melbourne-inged it. He's like, do I really have it? He goes, nah, I'm out, guys, I'm out.
Hey, on the
What about the
weekend...
spills he's had on Instagram too, when they put those packages together saying this is the leader of the free world. He's had more falls than me on the piss.
And
I
he
know
wears a
it's
nappy
wild.
too.
Yeah, it's wild. And, like, the other guy's a rapist and a felon. It's crazy. It's really crazy. Hey, I saw Beck on the weekend after she did her marathon. Congratulations.
Thank you, Dinner.
The half marathon.
Smashed it.
Did
Uh,
Yeah.
Well done.
Like, even with the break in the middle, like, I had to go to the bathroom, and the girl in front of me, she was like, don't use that. Like, don't even look in the toilet. So after her saying that, you got to do what you got to do. You got to look at the toilet. And it was worse than a festival, like, bathroom.
Oh,
It's
that's
absolutely
rough.
rad.
Hideous.
That's rough.
Yeah, but
So
I finished it.
You
so.
stared at the toilet like Harry Mackay stared at the dragon.
Yeah, that was the dragon.
John.
I remember when I went to New York, Dean. I remember we went on that trip to New York around the New York Marathon. I needed a toilet break and ran off to the side. There's about 50 toilets all lined up, and I was wondering why there was no one else in the toilets.
Yeah.
Well, all the toilets were locked. Someone had forgotten to unlock the toilets. And the New York Marathon had started. So I did have to contemplating weeing my pants while I was running along until I
itch.
found a
Imagine
set of
the-
toilets a few k's
A
later.
minor oversight, that one.
The itch would have killed you. Let's go to Hawks first. Dog, this is huge.
Yeah, they were good. Obviously, wet weather specialists, the Hawks. They're playing a great brand of footy, as we know. Sammy Mitchell's, he's got them scoring. They're defending really well. He's got options up forward that, last year they just didn't have. All of a sudden, Marbia Chol and Cole Shadir and Connor McDonald's kick 4 and Jack Ginnivan's involved in everything. Luke Bruce's. The most games ever played by a rookie. He's still hitting the scoreboard, JB. It's pretty hard side to stop, aren't they?
Yeah, it's interesting because, wet weather footy, you think, you got to kick it long and keep the game really basic. Hawthorn had as many handballs as they had kicks. And, you look at wet weather, the talent rises to the top. So does that show how much talent they've got above other teams now, Brown Dog? Because they continue to play a dry weather style. In the wet, it was a bit like Ayrton Senna, the great race car driver. When the wet would come, he'd be about 2 seconds ahead of every other driver. So that was more ominous than anything I thought going up against going into September.
Well, they got 9 goals out of players that weren't on the list last year. The biggest downfall for the Hawks was offensively, they couldn't score. Last year they were impotent up forward. And as I mentioned, Ambrosia's come from Essendon. He's been one of the recruits of the year.
It's not true.
Little Watson, who everyone said, he's too small, to play.
The Wizard.
The Wizard
The
kicked
Wizard's
free.
back. He's found his wand.
Yeah, he's found his wand. And I like what they're doing. I still don't think that they're a premiership threat.
Come on.
Why not?
Well, just because they'll just be happy playing finals this year, I think, with where they are in their development.
Reach for aim higher, brother.
Yeah, aim for the moon. If you miss, you're still in the sky and the stars.
Hey, Hutto does not get enough credit. I love that man. He's one of the greats.
I called with him yesterday. He had a good couple of games, didn't he? He had a Collingwood Hawthorn game, and then he had Brisbane Sydney yesterday.
How good's this from him?
Another goal to Jack Ginnivan. Put that one on TikTok.
Mate, I love him. He's the greatest.
When he kissed the badge, when he kissed the horse badge, that was inciting to the Collingwood fans. And I remember there was an NFL player who played in Dallas, right? And every time he scored a touchdown, he ran into the middle with the ball and he put it down in the Dallas Star, which is highly, highly, highly offensive to the Cowboys. And it ended up, the second time he did it, he ended up getting bowled over by someone. I think I love the fact that he turned to the Collingwood crowd, he kissed the Hawks badge, because he was a Hawks.
That was Terrell Owens, the famous wide receiver. Terrell Owens was playing for the 49ers and ran and touched it down on the Dallas Star.
John, there's nothing better than inciting, not violence, but inciting, emotion.
It's amazing.
And the same Collingwood fans that were up in arms last year with him getting booed by all the opposition supporters, all of a sudden, when he's playing for the Hawks, they were booing him. So call that hypocritical.
Well said. Hey, you know how he's doing the go to sleep sign to the cheer squad? Like, he did it for a while too. Listen to Gaz here at the end of this little clip. This is him. Gaz is talking about the reaction from the Pies fans, Jonathan.
There's something for I told you he wouldn't mind doing it at either end,
A
Gav.
couple of little wrestles too with his old mate Braden Maynard. So he had everything.
Maynard clocked him in the face.
He'll be all right.
Didn't he?
But
He got let off for that though, didn't he?
JB, that puts bums on seats. That puts interest in next time Collingwood Hawthorn play. More people are going to watch.
Yeah.
More people are going to go to the game because of one man being a great showman and a bloody
he's one of the great young entertainers, no question about it.
3 votes.
Yeah, man.
You come up against your old side, knowing you're going to cop it from the crowd and the opposition, and you come out and you have 31, kick a couple and get 3 votes.
Dog.
It's a credit to you as a human being.
He's like a wrestling heel. Everyone loves a villain. It makes everything better.
Absolutely. You love a heel. You need a heel. And it's great to see, especially against your old team. And probably need to turn the spotlight back onto Collingwood for that list decision. Yeah, we know we went to the race the night before a grand final, which was silly. But they did come out and they won the grand final. He was the sub. He contributed when he went back out there. So
now I'm going to get him on the podcast.
Yeah, nothing was lost out of it.
Surely you can, brother.
I'm going to get him on the podcast, JB.
Don't say that.
Yeah, but he's a fan of the podcast. He's a listener.
Yeah.
So we shouldn't have any problems getting him on. But you actually got to look at that decision in the off-season, don't you, Dino? Just hang on a minute. Let me finish this point.
Yes.
You've got to look at that list decision. They brought in Lockie Shields from Fremantle. They gave up picks for him. Yet you had Jack Ginnivan, who's clearly a star, small forward, can play in the midfield. Well, he got 31 disposals on the weekend in the wet and dominated. How you actually let him go? Was he immature or, were they concerned about his character? Was it just a young bloke just learning to grow up in the AFL world?
What do you reckon, Dog? Because clubs like to control things.
Yeah. Oh, clearly he made a couple of questionable decisions, down there in Lawn and then obviously the grand final. But he's a young guy that everyone says is a good person, got a good heart. He loves his club and his teammates. And maybe he just needed a fresh start. You know what I mean? Like every now and then some players just need to get out of a certain environment because of the coaching staff or whatever it may be. And he's come across to Hawthorn where he feels loved. Very important to feel loved at a place. If you're going out there trying to put your heart and soul on the line for a club and you're constantly feeling like they're second guessing you or they're trying to control you or they don't fully trust you, it's hard. And clearly he's got that with Sam Mitchell, who was his idol growing up. In Hawthorn, they're allowing him to do his celebrations. They're not trying to stop him, and I think he's loving his footy.
Is that Sam Mitchell's one wood? Because I don't feel like we had that as a player, but you feel like as a coach he's gone away and thought, I need to develop that side of his personality. You feel like he loves his boys or they feel appreciated and loved by Sam.
Certainly, yeah, absolutely. The players and Sam have got a great connection. It's funny because if anyone tried to pull out some of the celebrations back in the day when he was a skipper, like he would have just ripped your head off.
Really?
Oh yeah, like he didn't even like Mark Williams' shotgun and things like that. Right? But I suppose back then when we were playing 15 years ago, you'd be called Lares and you'd be called big heads and all that. If you were doing that,
the wrong colour boots would get criticism back in those days. They're doing
like every player's got. CJ's got some different celebration. I saw Ambrosio drink like sipping a coffee with Amon. Like they've all got something going on. I don't know what it is, but it's straight out of the NFL.
Absolutely.
All those guys score downs and they've all got their little celebrations and Hawks are a happy they are a happy team at the moment.
Well, Mitchell's the youngest coach, so is he more in touch than any other coach in the competition with this current generation?
Probably.
Good point,
they're
John.
all on TikTok and he's got young children too that probably got TikToks and it's a different mindset. It's a different generation, and you need to lean into it a little bit more, not fight it.
You telling me Fags ain't TikToking right now?
I don't think Fags is TikToking.
Campbell, what would your celebration have been? Give us one right now. What would your celebration
I did
be?
that one once.
Oh, the Hewitt?
Yeah, I did the late Hewitt. I was a big late Hewitt. But I wasn't a big fist pumper if I kicked a good goal. But I didn't put any time and effort into thinking, if I do this, I didn't do it. I'm not a showman like that.
Browny, what about you? What kind of celebration would you go with?
Oh, well, everyone knows. I don't need to explain.
One finger in the air, brother.
God almighty, Brody. What were you watching?
That finger got a real...
what would you go with, Dean?
I would pretend to smoke a bong.
Yeah, that'd be nice.
You wouldn't do
that'd be nice.
Hey, don't you reckon, though, it's hard to think about in the moment, Dino and Dog, because... Even if I rehearsed it and practiced it during the week, I would completely forget about it.
Yeah, you would.
I didn't even know I'd put the finger in the air. It was just habit, I guess, but I never actually consciously thought of it.
I agree. So all these ones are preempted. They have to be.
Yep.
Like a good one-liner in a commentary game, like it's preempted.
Yeah.
I famously remember when Dennis Committee said, and he waited for the derby, right? West Coast Eagles versus the Dockers, and the specific stoppage late in the third quarter. He got tapped down, and Cousins got it, and he ran away from Josh Carr. And Dennis Committee went, Cousins running away from Carr. Not the first time that's happened this year. That had to be preempted.
That's
right?
unbelievable stuff, Dennis.
Well,
John.
Preempted celebration too. Talking about Terrell Owens, the famous wide receiver. This is as good as it gets, and take a fair bit of planning. He put a Sharpie in his footy socks, or his socks for his uniform before a game, knowing full well that he was going to score a touchdown. And after he scored the touchdown, he pulled the Sharpie out of his sock, signed the ball, and handed it to someone in the front row.
Oh, that is unbelievable.
Yeah, that's good stuff.
Oh, if someone did that in the AFL, that'd be amazing.
Hey, tell me what your thoughts about this is, because I had dinner on Wednesday night at SK up in Brisbane, my favourite restaurant, and it was only
restaurant is it? What sort of food is it? Asian fusion?
No, it's seafood, but there's also a meat element to it. It's bloody beautiful. 7:15, I ordered an Uber, right? So nothing untoward going on. I just wanted to go to Suncorp to get there by 8 o'clock so I could watch the Origin. And Uber accepted, pulled up about 50 metres up the road, no problems. Walking towards it, pretty relaxed. We're on time. Everything's fantastic. And as we get a little bit closer to the Uber, we're probably 7 metres away now, starts rolling forward like it's about to leave, right? On James Street, there was no other cars around. It wasn't busy. So I sort of rush up to it And I knock on the window. I was like, hey, we're here. And he winds down the window a little bit and says, cancel, you're not coming in. I said, what do you mean? I'm Campbell, this is the Uber. He said, too aggressive with your knock.
Whoa.
I said, hang on, but you were rolling forward about to leave, right? And my other mate, Jared, went across the other side and he wound down that window as well. And he said, I'm not letting you guys in. And he was eating. He'd been eating. Maybe he was on a dinner break or something because he had some bread with some dips and some stuff. And he said, you're not coming. Order another Uber. I said, you can't
some bread and some dips in the car.
Yeah. I said, you can't. You actually picnic. You can't do that. We've booked this Uber. It's Origin night. We want to get to Suncorp Stadium. He says, no, you're not coming. And as he's turning to abuse my mate here, I went, nah, stuff this.
Oh.
So I lean in, I grab his naan bread and his dip, right, and I take it with me, right? And he looks down, he goes berserk, right, and gets out of the car, and I put it on the street. I said, if you don't take us to Suncorp, you can go hungry. And he was very, very, very angry, right?
You're a lunatic.
Well, mate, you took his Suzuki.
Yeah, I took his Suzuki and his naan, but anyway, he's choked my mate. He grabbed him by the throat and says, bring your friend back with the naan bread.
Jesus Christ, Campbell.
Anyway, we told him to leave, and before it escalated and he drove off into the night, we got another Uber and off we went. We got there on time, but that's what unfolded.
Brother, you're a lunatic. You could get into trouble for this.
You can't, not for bread. It was just naan bread. It wasn't a possession of his, it was just his bread.
The big question is, dog.
Not for bread.
The big question is,
Unbelievable. That's his
how many
takeaway.
stars?
Not for bread.
How many stars, dog?
Yeah, how many stars you give?
I gave him no stars because I couldn't get
How many do you reckon he gave you?
probably naan.
That's what. Hey,
Oh, wow.
not for bread. You are
Not
a
for bread.
marvel.
You can't
Absolute
have a
marvel
bread.
of a
You can't
human
have a
being.
bread.
Hey, Bombers, are you tickled?
No, I actually want the Bombers to succeed. I think they have the tools and they're capable of playing good footy. They
It's
got
very
found out.
insincere by you, Cam.
Insincere.
They were found out in the wet 2 weeks ago against Melbourne, who subsequently the ball side. Look at what they dished up yesterday, and then to have lost when they were in they just conceded a big start and they fought their way back. You cannot be a fair income finals football team if you allow games to flow like they did. One team up by 5 goals, then you come back. That's inconsistent. It's not the right way to go about winning games of footy, and they ultimately lost.
Pies did that last year. They won a flag doing that, but this year they've sort of come unstuck.
Correct.
It's wild.
Their leaders stood up and did a lot better job late in games to be able to control a scenario, unlike Essendon. They should have won that game on the weekend.
Absolutely.
So very disappointing. They'll learn from it, but they aren't a young side. They aren't as young as people think. They need to do a lot better job in those close game scenarios.
And those defenders, the Essendon defenders, were just listless. Like Benny Keys is a good player, but he's kicked 5 and had 2 goal assists.
Yep.
You've let Rochelle kick 3. You've let Fogarty kick 4. Like learn to defend.
Yeah.
And then you can talk about being a proper footy side.
What do you think about the HIA situation, boys? Obviously, in Carlton happened in the Carlton game as well, Dino. But Jordan Dawson, HIA'd after he received the head knock. He stayed out in the field, went through the 3/4 time, then came back and then went back out after the break before they called for the HIA. It was about 20 minutes after he's actually hit from young Nate Caddy. And then last night or yesterday we saw a situation with Harry Mackay where he was whacked in the head and was helped to his feet by Charlie Curnow. The umpire had a stoppage and the umpire waited for him to get up, but clearly he was affected out. The Carlton doctor was in the rooms treating another player. But you just sort of wonder that it just doesn't look great for the AFL, does it? There's so much talk about head knocks. What they should do, should the umpire have the power in that situation to say, no, you're going off. We're not starting the game until you leave the field, because at the moment it doesn't look like the umpires have any power over that scenario.
Dog.
It's a tough one, isn't it? I think ultimately the power always needs to be with the doctor, the club doctor. But clearly,
we have the doctors in the rooms treating someone else.
And clearly, if the umpires see something that they're the closest to it, they can see a player as soon as he gets up, maybe his eyes and how he's walking around the contest. They should be able to do something. I don't want to see that happening 3, 4, 5 times a game, because it's just a waste of not time, but it'll be too many breaks, but certainly it's in extraordinary circumstances, I think they should be given the power to even call the opposition's doctor. You know what I mean? Like just someone that knows what they're doing to potentially get some help for a player.
John?
I think it should be, well, they're all mic'd up, aren't they? Or they've got their earpieces in, that they should have some help from the bunker in this scenario. So we're going to go suspending guys like Charlie Cameron and Toby Bedford for essentially doing football actions. Well, maybe the AFL's got to contribute more so and provide the doctor in the bunker and just say, hey, I'm not saying it's the be-all and end-all, but, hey, advice to the umpire, hey, this guy's gone down, Harry Mackay, stop the play. He's got to go off. It's hard for the umpire to make a split-second adjudication or judgment on a player, I guess, but maybe he needs some help and needs some advice from the bunker or the umpire's coaching area.
Because the more diligent we're going to be with head knocks and HIA and things like that, the more frequency we're going to see it in a game. In the past, there might have been one or two instances. Now, there's going to be potentially up to a handful or more, the way that we're looking after the health of the players.
Spot on. And the current players are bearing the brunt of the responsibility, Brown Dog, because they're having to wear the suspensions. So you need to wear a bit of the responsibility for the clubs, but especially the AFL, I think, and they've got to be able to contribute, because that's the biggest cloud over our game, is when players get a whack, and it's the management of the players post the head knock.
Hey, doggies are coming. Am I wrong?
They're good side. They're a very good
they're
side.
good. I like them. Jeez, I'm going to talk about them on Monday tonight's couch. Bevo's finally found a spine. And you can't get accused of... You're not going to accuse Bevo of not having a spine, but I'm talking about his actual spine of his team. You know, even when they won the premiership in 2016, they really didn't have that many big boys. Now they've got some really accomplished big boys. We know they've got Norton and Jamara down one end of the ground and Liam Jones to come back in, but they've found one in Sam Darcy, haven't they? And also found one in Rory Lobb. They've switched him back. That's been an inspired move. So their goal-to-goal line is looking as accomplished as any teams in the competition at the moment, and they were fantastic. And, geez, they were brutal on Geelong down at the Cattery on Saturday night. Still a few problems for the Cats around their midfield, but the doggies are looming up, no question about it, and they're going to cause some problems in September if they make it.
Yeah, Buku Karmas is a solid intercept player.
Him too.
And with Lobb down back now, it can free him up to play as an interceptor. And you're spot on. They're hungry. They've always enjoyed the contest. There's never been a question about that. But it's just been their ball movement and a few little tweaks that they've seemed to have got right now. So. They're another side, like the Hawks, that you wouldn't want to play in September.
All right, Freo.
Funny sliding doors moment. Sorry, Dino, before you hit Freo. You know, like Bevo, a few weeks ago, if he had a loss there, it was a critical game. If he had a loss, now this is maybe just outside world talk, but you feel as if his job was under a lot of pressure. And if he had lost a couple when they were actually able to pull it out of the hat and win, his job might have been on the line.
Absolutely. Freo, we don't give them enough love on this podcast.
No, we don't. They've got three forwards, key forwards, Sturt, Tracy and Amos, who over here in Victoria, I never hear anyone talking about them. Amos kicked 4. Tracy was arguably the best man on the ground
lately.
Yeah, he's been good because he played Stephen May and Jakey Lever, very, very, very good football. As bad as Melbourne are, Stephen May is one of the best fullbacks in the comp with Sam Collins. He absolutely tore Melbourne's defence to shreds on the weekend. He kicked 3. He set up another 2. He took 12 marks, couple of big contested marks, 6 marks inside 50.
Jesus.
Like, it was a domination from all the forwards of Freo, but in particular Tracy, who's a beautiful kick of the footy too. 55 out, bang, gun barrel straight. He can play.
What's happening to Clayton Oliver?
Well, when you have an inconsistent pre-season, you have an inconsistent
Is that what you
season.
call it? An inconsistent process.
When you live an inconsistent life, you have inconsistent output.
You say that, but then we were just talking about Ginnivan before going to the Dogs.
To go to the Hawks.
Going to the track.
Races, yeah.
And just because he won, we don't give a
No, everyone gave a It's probably the main reason he ended up out of Collingwood. And there was a lot of uproar. So they do care.
D's are gone. This is it.
Oh, yeah, these are finished.
For a while.
Well, for a fair while, I think. Well, Max is not getting any younger. Petrarca's out at the moment. I feel like they've missed their window.
They didn't have a clearance until like halfway through the second quarter. One clearance.
Amazing. Yeah. So they've been disappointing. They've been really disappointing. High hopes going in for Melbourne, and they were beaten in a couple of close finals last year. But, geez, they've really dropped off, and you lose key players. But you're not sure how they come back for next year when they're so reliant on Max Gawn, who's not getting any younger.
John, we talk about their window, and it just sucks. They just didn't capitalise. I mean, they went straight sets 2 years in a row after finishing.
Do you know what they did, though? And no one's really spoken about this too much, right? They lost a lot of good, experienced football. So James Harms, he's played 150-odd games, capable of getting 20 and kicking 2 or 3, goes to the Doggies. So he's out of that side. Angus Brayshaw never played again, right? So he's out of that side. Very, very, very good footballer. James Jordan, who was a premiership player for him, only played 50-odd games. He goes to the Sydney Swans. He's found his role up there. Then... the
biggest one was Luke Jackson, Brown Dog. You make a very good point. Luke Jackson, he was fantastic in that 21 grand final as well, wasn't he? And obviously it's been magnified yesterday, albeit Jackson was playing for the other team, playing for Fremantle with Darcy. They had no ruckman.
Yep.
So when they don't have Gawn there, it's either Gawn or bust.
And Charlie Spargo's hardly played this season. Yep. You lose Petrarca and Gawn, and all of a sudden, there's probably 1,000 games of experience.
Yep.
Good quality players, bit of depth that is no longer at Melbourne.
Yep. And
they drop from a top 4 side to middle of the road. It's
I
as
don't
simple
think
as
they
that.
come back. It's a shame for the Melbourne supporters.
It is,
after all
man.
that wait. They win the premiership in Perth, where the fans couldn't get to apart from Babbage and Babcock.
It changes every time we mention it. The law firm. Hey, Adrian Barrett and Babcock. When we get back from the break, we're going to play a game called Who is the Most Fined Player in History? Because there might be a new king. We've got plenty to get to, including the Hulkster out of America. Don't move, back in a second. Welcome back to Brownie's podcast. Dog, do you remember the exact figure you were fined over your career?
It'd be in the 15 to 20,000.
That's crazy.
I got 7.5 for the Judd lying, which was 15, and half of it was revoked. I got a couple of melees, the line in the sand game, couple of wrestle fines. Yeah, I'm probably going to say 15,000.
That's a small car. That's a decent car.
Yeah.
John, how many?
What about the car Zach Butters could have got a Tesla? He wouldn't have been able to get a Hilux. $38,000 in fines.
Really?
Jesus!
He's now the most fined AFL player in the history of the sport, taking over from Toby Green.
Wow, see, that's extraordinary because I always looked at Toby Green and you go, he's a little rascal, he's a little bit dirty. Right?
Same.
I don't look at Zach Butters and think that at all.
I agree. Is he perceived that way?
Not really. A lot of his are for rough conduct. So it's like, something might start from another player and then he'll just give him a quick one in the chest.
Get 1,000, 2,000,
1,000 here,
4,000.
1,000 here. But now the fines are accumulative. So, your first one's 1,000, your second one's 3,000, your fourth one's 5,000,
Wow.
your
Right.
sixth one's... So now that he's up to his 14th and 15th fine of his career...
Really?
Yeah, they're up to the, $10,000, $12,000 mark. So thus
He's still young, right? He's going to play another 200 games. So
He'll crack a half ton.
Oh, no, mate. If he keeps going, he'll lose 100 grand. The AFL.
Now, I've got some very bad news for you two particularly. You know that fines are no longer tax deductible.
Really? Well, they
Yep.
were back in my day.
Yeah.
That's amazing.
Yep. I did a fact check on it, and you can no longer claim it off as tax expense.
Wow.
That's wild.
What is that? Is that all part of the fame tax when they clamp down on the famous people, the celebs out there, dodgy tax returns?
John's been hurt by that tax.
Because I was because the big line in the sand game, right? I was only 20 years of age, so I got 4 weeks as well as my fine for melee and wrestling, right? And so I wasn't getting match payments either. And my old man thought that was a bit unfair, considering that Dermot Brereton had gone down to the rooms at halftime and specifically said to a couple of players, go out there and have a crack. And so I think Jason Dunster was the CEO at the time, and he bumped into Mel just at the social club one like Thursday arvo while he was watching Hawthorn train, and he said to Jason Dunster, he goes, mate, it's unfair, the young kid, he's got his fine, he's got his melee, and now he's missing 4 game suspension, and Jason sort of goes, well, that's his own fault. He didn't have to hit Jason Winderlick and get rubbed out for a month. He said, yeah, but I mean, Dermot Brereton's the director. It was an instruction from the club. So he pulls out a $1 coin and he says to Jason Dunster, mate, I'll flip you. Heads, you pay Campbell's 4 weeks match payments. Tails, you don't. And Dunster goes, you can't be serious, Mel, can you? He goes, yeah, I'm being deadly serious. Heads or tails. Middle of the Hawthorn Social Club, 2004. So they're standing there laughing. Flips it. Heads or tails. Heads, I get paid. Tails, I don't. Bang. Lands. Heads it was. Right? I didn't miss a match payment thanks to Mel Gold. That's unbelievable.
Mel Gold.
Dunster goes, Mel, you've got me again here.
Oh, my God,
I got my
dog.
4-week match payments.
Holy
Good stuff, isn't it?
Hey,
Yes.
What about the great halftime spray from Kenny? I love that. The vision of that in the rooms, he's giving his midfielders one of the great sprays. And I don't think we see it enough. I don't think it happens enough these days. The old halftime spray from the coach. I remember Lethal ripping into me one day calling, you're uncoachable, Brownie. Uncoachable. Short and sharp it was. Jeez, I was a bit bruised. I don't think I got a kick after half time.
Uncoachable. Hey, that's...
Uncoachable, I got. Did you ever cop one from Clarko, Brown Dog?
Oh, all the time.
You ever got a half time just lift?
Mate, there was a NAB Cup game where we went over to Perth to play the West Coast Eagles.
Getting sprays in NAB Cup.
I found it really difficult to get myself up to the level I needed to play in a NAB Cup game because you don't want to get suspended, you don't want to get injured, you want to play decent enough to get picked the next week, but you don't want to put it all on the line.
Yep.
And there's this one ball that came out of the centre stoppage, and like usually I just go back with the flight and take an intercept mark. And I saw it, and I looked back and I saw Kennedy or someone charging out the goals. I went, no, I'll just get front and centre. And I turned around to get front and centre, and the ball dead set nearly hit me in the back of the head. And runner comes out. I'm straight off.
Yep.
And Clark on the phone, and very calmly, he says, Brownie, mate, what's up? What's wrong with you today? And I go, Clarko, do you want me to be honest? And very calmly he goes, yeah, mate, of course. You can always feel like you can be honest with me. I said, well, I just can't get myself up for a NAB Cup game. And then Clarko goes, well, you can get yourself up for the VFL next week. And mate, he gave me 2 weeks in the VFL before round one. I played round one, but you've never seen someone go, yeah, Campbell. Like you can always be honest with me, calm. I thought, I've got a great relationship with Clark. I can just say this, and I'll go, no worries, mate. Bang, copped it right in the neck.
Brother, man, in your defence, everyone thinks that way. You were being just
too honest.
Too honest.
Yeah.
No one gives a shit about the NAB Cup.
Well, they don't anymore, but you sort of need to show some level of respect for the game.
That's unbelievable.
I used to hate the NAB Cup.
Oh, man. Let's listen to Hulk Hogan from the US.
Great man, inspirational man. Hulk.
He's come out in support of Donald Trump, and it just makes you want to run through a wall. Have a listen.
What happened last week when they took a shot at my hero? And they tried to kill the next president of the United States. Enough was enough. And I said, let Trumpomania run wild, brother. Let Trumpomania rule again. Let Trumpomania make America great again.
He took a bullet for democracy.
Oh, did he? Yeah. Hulk's broken my heart there. I love the Hulk.
Jeez, it was fantastic. And whilst ripping the singlet off up on the dais as well. How good was that?
Wait, what is
Trumpster,
happening?
He came to the Lions 1 year. The Trumpster, the Hulkster.
Yeah.
And he came in and saw the boys. We had the boxing ring in there, and he came in and took some photos. Absolutely, he met him. He goes, I heard you're the captain, brother. Come here and give me a cuddle. And mate, his arms were bigger than my quads.
His
They were
pythons.
enormous. The big pythons. So the big Hulkster,
man.
He's a big man too. He's about 6'4", probably about 120 kilos.
What would you be
an absolute
thinking
beauty.
if you're like in one of the war-torn parts of the world and you turn on the TV and Hulk Hogan's implication? You're like, what chance do we have? What is happening? Hey, ads, back in a second. Welcome back to Brownie's Podcast at Brownie's Podcast on TikTok and Instagram. Beck, congratulations again on your half marathon.
Thank you.
Very well done. John, what do you got?
Geez, what about the wintry conditions over the weekend, boys? Fortunately enough, me and Dog are up in Queensland, but
I got
they
sunburnt.
looked terrible down in Victoria. There was another Carlton draft player, Dill Buckley, played for Tura on the weekend. That looked horrific, the conditions he got out there. Had 16 touches, 4 tackles, and the biggest acting performances of all time, trying to draw a free kick. So well done to Dill for getting out there. Again, he was part of the losing team,
John?
just like all those years when he was playing for Carlton.
Did they get a decent crowd down there for it?
I think there was a decent crowd, but the problem is with some of these games, like our game with Bucks last year with Nathan Buckley, was the conditions were horrific. Made it a little bit hard. What about the game that was actually called off in Ballarat, bro? It's due to hypothermia.
What?
Yeah, so it was in Newlands. It was in the Newland versus Springbank in the Central Highlands League, and the umpires were so concerned about the players. I believe it was a degree or hovering around 0. There was no snow, but they were playing in short sleeve, and they were worried about hypothermia because the players, particularly those when the ball was down one end, those that are just standing there, they said we're concerned about their well-being. We have to call a game off because they were getting hypothermia.
Jesus Christ.
Unbelievable. I remember a game against Hawthorn in 2004. Were you playing, Brown Dog? There was a shocking game. It was one of the coldest games on record in Melbourne, a winter's game. Brisbane played Hawthorn, the MCG at the G.
Yeah, I played.
And you played that game?
Yeah, it was freezing.
Yeah. Well, we had I got a corky 5 minutes into the first quarter, so I continued and played through the game. Old school toughness, Dino. Thanks for that.
I didn't say it, but well done, John. Yes, congrats.
But Lynchy wasn't playing, and I don't think Dan Bradshaw was playing either. So I had to stand in the goal square the whole day on Trent Croad. And I reckon I was bordering on hypothermia that day, Brown Dog. I think it was 6 degrees. We managed to get over the line. I reckon we kicked 4 goals to Hawthorn's 3. And came off to the bench late in the game, and I reckon I was close to hypothermia that day.
Yeah, it was a shocking day. Yeah, it was shocking. Quite muddy as well. I remember I played on Jason Ackermanis, and I was involved in a tackle or something, and Nigel Lappin came up from behind me with a handful of mud and just put it all in my face and eyes and everything, and I didn't see who did it. I got up and I wiped my face clear, and I just assumed it was Acker, was my direct opponent, and I slapped him in the face. Yeah, and Acker was like,
"Slap that Uber driver."
Acker was like, "What the hell?" Yeah, it was vision of it. I got reported, but I got cleared because it was an open hand. Oh man! Hey JB, it's one of life's great mysteries that you're the chairman of the CUB game, right? And I still haven't been invited.
No, he's the commissioner. He's the commissioner.
Yeah, the CEO, the commissioner. We got Lloyd, we got Dill Buckley, we got all these people, Geordie Lewis, we got bloody everyone, and here I am, twice a week in your company. What the hell? Former player. You know, that can get a crowd, and I keep getting overlooked.
John?
Well, yeah, it is an interesting point. I've gone... The problem is I've gone back and looked at your previous country football experiences, and the fact that you played for one club, twice, and then you offered to come back for a third time because of your inept performances previously... And then the club didn't want you back the third time.
Yeah.
That just sums up the sort of contribution. I need players that are going to go out to the country areas and not just put on a show for the fans of the post game. I need them to win the game of football. I need to get them over the line and keep the fans happy.
Yeah, that's fair. Big shout out to Belan Footy Club. It was coached by Mark Williams.
Yeah, that's one of my favourite Campbell Brown stories is the free offer. I feel
Well, it wasn't free. It was half price.
Oh, mate, discounted. Hey, it just occurred to me, if Hawks get to the grand final week, you're going to be swimming in cash, man.
Well, I wouldn't say that, but it certainly allows me access to a few more grand final tickets.
John?
You reckon there's a lot of cashies? Brisbane did one last year. I didn't do one cashie.
What?
Not one cashie on the back of a Brisbane Lions grand final.
Yeah, because you're off the cashie circuit, and everyone knows it.
He's clean.
He's taken a wide berth over the last few years, and
he's gone legit.
Specifically walked away from the brown paper bag, and so
his accountant's like, "Look, I can't go and do another year of this. I've kept you out of prison for long enough."
Well, shovel is blunt, don't I?
Hey.
I wonder who would be the cheapest person on the cashie circuit of all the people. There'd be the ones that are really expensive, and then you start getting into
Brian Lake.
Okay.
Yeah, Brian
Some
Lake's cheap.
sort of doing
Brian
their
Lake's
services
cheap.
for $500, which is
Who's
completely
the most
unacceptable.
prolific then? Brown Dog, in your experience, who's the most prolific over
Matthew
the last
Lloyd.
few years?
Oh, I think Keka still gets a fair few. Yeah, we saw him just across the
We
road.
just saw
there.
him.
Keka?
He's in a high demand, Keka. He
Lethal
brilliant.
would be
What about the
very
time-
high.
What about the time Keka hosted a big charity function at Crown Casino, Brown Dog?
And then left.
Whilst also hosting something in Box Hill.
Yeah, he got up on stage, MC'd the first half an hour, ducked off for like an hour and a half, came back. He was doing he was double booked.
That's unbelievable.
Came back and finished the function at the Crown Casino.
Oh, yeah.
Mad dog.
He left the Starlight Foundation one day to go somewhere else for a couple of hours.
Oh my god. Hey, are we this week? Are we doing Wednesday or Friday for the second episode?
Friday.
Friday, as normal.
Back to normal.
But we might go to Wednesdays in future. I don't know. It felt.
We might try it the next week. I'm going to be down on Friday to do it. But we might try it after that. We'll see how it go. Seems to be a positive reception. So maybe a bit of feedback for Beck on the, what is it?
Beck,
on the
reflect
old
the data.
MySpace.
Jesus Christ. Hey, Beck, any data points you can provide us?
From MySpace.
Well, data's looking good for Wednesdays. I reckon just because, like footy's fresh off the weekend, and Friday, people got stuff to do.
You could argue it's at its stalest.
What about the big power outage on Friday afternoon that took the whole world down? That's not going to be the last we see or hear of that. That's why I live in a world that is devoid of a lot of technology.
Off the grid.
Yeah, off the grid. Yeah,
Do not live off the grid.
I do, mate. I do.
That is a lie.
Off the grid.
You look at South
Because
Yarra.
You've got a
that's where he's
farm
up
with a
off the
couple of
grid.
horses. That doesn't mean you're living off the grid, mate.
South Yarra could not be more on the grid.
No, but it didn't affect me at all. Some people couldn't take money out of their ATM. Some people got the boom gates wouldn't go up. They were stuck in where they work. Flights were cancelled. Everything was affecting.
Hey, Brown Dog, you don't have to take money out of the ATM because you got Mel Gold.
That's true, brother. Yeah.
It's just an endless supply of cash.
I know. No matter how bad I go on the punt, I always know that Mel Gold will bail me out.
Time for.
What a world! Now, this is a great what a world. A Bendigo man could permanently lose his eyesight after chlamydia-infected stripper urinated on his face. Now, we call that a golden shower. And this Australian man went over to Phuket, Thailand. His name's Brandon Clark. He's 26, and he was having some drinks with some friends. He was playing a bunch of drinking games when one of the girls instructed him to lay down on the floor. The next thing, she was standing over him, proceeded to urinate on him, and unfortunately, he washed his face, but the next day his eyes were all red and puffy, and become more and more painful. The boys took him to the local hospital where the bacteria had got into his eyes, and chlamydia was detected, and he's potentially going to go blind. So trachoma is a bacterial eye infection, and not unlike pink eye or conjunctivitis. But fingers crossed he didn't see that coming. So get well soon, please.
I just wondered. Where was it going?
No one deserves to lose their eyesight for such an innocuous moment in their life.
Every time he delivers one of these lines, he looks up at me. So when I know that there's something coming, so you can just tell when he's getting towards the end of the story, he just stares at me from across the table.
What a world.
That's
Jesus.
a tough explanation when he arrives back on Australian shores, isn't it, to his family.
John, we'll see you soon. Have a great week, everyone. Talk to you then.